put on 2 bear call spreads. It was a hell of a lucky strike week, folks, but a lot of Obama teachable moments for our members, and it turned out absolutely phenomenal. Could have been a zero, could have been a hero, and we turned them into heroes. Or actually, we didn't. The markets did, because our strategic mindset and our commit criteria were absolutely flawless for our 3 trades here. On Monday, right out of the gate, this time last week, we were having that rip your face off rally. Remember, it seems like last Monday was a lifetime ago, and it was for a lot of reasons. And $1,800 trade. $1,800 trade from Monday to Friday. Put that one in a bank. And on Wednesday, when the rip your face off rally kind of continued on, we're going to get Trump's tax plan finally, I said sold. It's going to be a sell on the news event, and we nailed it. We sent out another bear call spread. The initial one was 23.85, 23.90. That got blown through in the middle of the week, and I said hold. We did the Braveheart hold. I appreciate the members that sent me clips of that movie and a couple screenshots. That was funny, and some lucky strikes. But I sold into that pop. I said, we're going to sell on this on the tax news, and we did. The main reason is because, folks, we've heard this. It's like Trump's crying wolf. Next week, huge announcement on the tax reform and everything like that. Khan got up there, semi-charismatic guy, and then Steve Mnuchin is just a mousy, just not, I mean, come on, folks. The Treasury sector, he's no Alexander Hamilton. This guy does not exude confidence. But anyway, I sold into that pop, and there was another $1,400. So about, what's that, $3,200 in those two. And then we put on a Apple bear call spread as well, the 145, 146, and that's expired for a $1,700 profit as well. So what's that? Over, just political science math, over $5,000 in weekly options profits on limited risk. Again, these are spreads, so the risk is limited. And yeah, it was this spread was fine all week, the Apple, but yeah, there were some lucky strike moments. But folks, again, this 50-day moving average, when we meandered on through it and dropped underneath it, and it became resistance for a while, the rip your face off rally on the Le Pen non-victory wasn't to be believed. So now the mainstream media is having us believe that the non-Trump winning in Europe is good news. Sold into that. And then we had the tax reform. We had all sorts of issues last week that I believe just we're going to top out here. And you can see the last time we hit 2,400 was on the State of the Union. I said sell the State of the Union. All he did was exactly what I said. He said everything he said in this Trump rally, except he wasn't tweeting and didn't it was a lot more presidential because he read off the prompter. Well, Wiz, you're wrong. Look at that pop. That was a short squeeze, folks. And then what happened? It sold on the State of the Union, and this became resistance. We're not going any higher this week, folks. I don't care about Apple and Facebook earnings. They're in their own world. Look at Amazon. Look at the FANGs, folks, or Google, or Alphabet. And now I'm going to call it Google. I don't call it Alphabet. Google and Amazon. They're printing money. Even Microsoft and Intel, little victories there. Market kind of shrugged, man. And then on Friday, the GDP number was awful. Okay, so over this weekend, we've been digesting a lot, and this market's topping out, and I think we might even start heading down to the 50-day moving average here. But that's a little debrief of last week. The guy's really starting to worry me. You guys know I was a Trump supporter. I was one of the only financial professionals, Jeffrey Gundlach at Double Line, and a couple other guys with multi-billion-dollar portfolios I love being mentioned with. But we can count on one hand the number of financial pros that got it right. I did. Not only said Hillary's going to lose, Trump's going to win, and the market's going to rally, as opposed to all of the Wall Street houses that said, nope, Trump wins, the market's going to implode, cats and dogs living together, mass hysteria. They were wrong, okay? But I'm going to point out when the guy's doing awful. He's doing awful. His North Korea, even his own national security advisor, General McMaster, had to go out and do damage control. He said, hey, Trump said off the cuff that South Korea is going to have to pay for this THAAD, Terminal High Altitude Air Defense System. They're going to have to pay for it. And South Korea went apeshit. Then General McMaster had to get on the Sunday shows and go, nah, that's not what he meant. Let me tell you what he meant to say. So I think, and I'm not a big Guardian guy, but I think this is a great headline. Trump stance on North Korean missile defense chaotic. And whenever you see, what's it have to do with investing, Wiz? Everything, folks. When you see the word chaotic and a potential nuclear war or conventional war, it'll be nuke, folks. If anything goes bump in the night, the cream of some young guy is gonna light off his bottle rockets. It's a fact. I know it. I've sailed past these waters. I've done contingency planning. I've flown. It'll be bad. The market doesn't like uncertainty, folks, and we're getting into a lot of uncertainty with North Korea. It's a busy week. Friday, since it's the first week of the month, what do we get on Friday? We get ADP non-farm payroll and also, average hourly earnings and all that stuff, which means Wednesday, remember the last month's job report? The previous month, ADP crushed it. It was out of the park, 298, almost 300. And then when Friday rolled around, the government's non-farm payroll was an embarrassment. So again, there's a lot of volatility coming through this week, and we have our weekly options live trade brief at 1. We're gonna trade all this stuff. I'm looking at a couple bear call spreads right now. Why am I also still? I'm neutral to bearish, folks. Heavier on the bearish side. That's the other thing that happened last week. Lucy with the football. The Republicans are Charlie Brown, and guess what? No vote on health care last week. Hell, we didn't even get a vote on continuing to keep the government open until over the weekend. So a lot of volatility. That's why I kept that bear call spread, the 85.90 on Friday. The market wasn't going to rally into an uncertain weekend, folks. So train wreck with health care. And here's another headline where I'm really getting bearish on this guy. Congress inks spending deal that jettisons Trump priorities. No wall. No, all the stuff that he has to stop over-promising. I get the art of the deal. I get negotiations. I get that you come with your best offer and you meet in the middle. He's starting to look like an idiot, and he can't get anything done. Okay, so a lot of his supporters, hey, day one, brick in the wall, huge wall. Day one, built, done. Day one, China, currency manipulator, done. None of it's happened. Okay, so I don't like the term flip-flopping because once, obviously running's different than governing, and now that he's in, he goes, wow, this was a lot harder than I thought it would be. Dumbest statement I've heard from that guy in a long time, and I've heard a lot of them. But a lot of his supporters are starting to see that he's getting over the side of the ship pretty damn quickly. A lot of stuff that got him elected. This isn't good. So the spending deal sucks. We also have a Fed meeting this week. It's a non-event. Don't even pay attention to it. I forget if it's a press conference or no, I think it's a written conference, meaning they just send out a press release. They're not going to raise rates this week, so don't worry about that. Talked about GDP on Friday. Weak. Anytime there's a good financial report, Trump comes out and says, huge, me, all me, and then didn't hear a word from him about GDP. Worst GDP print in about 3 years. Reduced purchases, Americans reduced purchases of big ticket items like cars and spent less on home heating. Not good. Despite Trumphoria, U.S. personal spending growth has stagnated. Okay, so it's in that GDP, folks. We might be, the consumer confidence might be a little bit better. We might be listening to them or our politicians and think that things are going to get better. Guess what? We're not pulling out our purses, our pocketbooks, or our wallets and spending. The savings rate hit 7-month highs. Well, that's good news, Wiz. That's awful news, folks. You have to think through these headlines. A high savings rate means just that. People are putting it in their Folgers can and burying it in the backyard. I am old enough to know what a Folgers can is. With crystals, we've replaced, what was that? I forget, Sanka. And then Bernanke, again, I watched CNBC, Comedy Central for the entertainment, but this was a great interview this morning Bernanke, the guy's I'm not a big fan. He artificially inflated this market with his quantitative easing and all that crap, QE 1 through 4 and Operation Twist and all that stuff. That's why we're up here, folks, this MacGyver rally that's been going on 3 to 5 years was built with a straw, a paperclip, and a rubber band, man. There's not that much underneath it. Yeah, tech earnings were solid. Financials weren't that solid. And him saying, because remember, folks, huge GDP growth. When I'm president, 3%. That's a big damn number to hit, folks. And Bernanke's saying, I'm selling that. Apple and Facebook, all-time highs. We're going to see some earnings out of these guys. Look at this, $250 billion. They could loan money to God, man. That is an insane amount of money. And guess what? It's not here. Remember, folks, in the tax plan that Trump released last week, with corporate tax, he really didn't talk about getting back all the money that corporations, American corporations, are stashing overseas. Why? Because Democrats always wanted to get at that money, and corporations are smart. They left. Let's get this money back. Let's get $250 billion back in the U.S. so Apple can hire, acquire, build a time machine in the iPhone 32. Who cares? Let's get the money back. He wasn't clear on that. So not happy with the tax bill here. And Goldman, the Death Star. Goldman warns the gap between stock investors' hopes and reality is close to all-time high. That doesn't end well. And finally, folks, we'll talk about this tomorrow morning at 10 a.m. in the primary live trade brief. Exxon blew it out of the water, doubled revenue or profit. We'll talk tomorrow, but it's cruising around. It was cruising around 52-week lows for my members that are in the PLTB. We'll talk about this tomorrow. Absolutely time for Jan 19 Exxon trade. I'm probably going to add to mine, and we'll get into it. We've been throwing out a lot of iron condors on Exxon. Trading the front month, folks. If you have a Jan 19 strategic mindset, a long call diagonal with a protective put on an ExxonMobil, then you should know what's going on in the front month. So look at that. We traded about 3 or 4 iron condors or tried to leg in, but only got filled on a couple spreads. That looks like wow, that thing's been channeling there, Wiz. Well, it wasn't channeling for a while. I think I got in right around here is when Wiz said get in ExxonMobil. But here's a perfect example, folks. Just like last week with our 3 shots, 3 kills with our weekly options trades, if your strategic mindset and your commit criteria are sound, don't get out of the trade. I guarantee you when we debrief at 1 o'clock last week's trade, some of my new members, let's put it delicately, prematurely ejected. Okay? And same thing here. As ExxonMobil slid, and people are like, wow, let me get out. Well, if you had gotten out, you missed the sideways trading, and then you missed this. Just like our Disney trade in the Urgent Alert portfolio, same type of thing. I got in right around here when I thought it was undervalued and it's time to get in. Remember, folks, nobody rang a bell right here and said, get out of Exxon. Nobody sounded an air horn right here and said, get in to Exxon. But if you're pretty damn close to those, you're doing great. The only guys who say, I got out of Exxon here and I got into it before it went straight up are jerks at a cocktail party, right, on the Ave in Delray. Great company and great people. So we're going to talk about this tomorrow. But I liked even Exxon and Chevron's strengthening oil industry. Remember, folks, they have gutted. If you trim your sails in really bad conditions when they were having problem when oil was really low here, they gutted. So when the wind picks up and your sails are trimmed for awfulness, when they feel full of wind, man, they're going to get going, and that's where we are with those. Like I said, big week ahead macroeconomically. And we'll cover this at 1 o'clock, but all eyes will be on Friday with the payroll. But again, we need to not only all eyes on Friday for the non-farm payroll, but we got to take a look at the events around the world. Still have North Korea out there, the saber rattling. Still have Russia, Syria. Still having Iran. Iran's North Korea 3 years into the future, and we're going to be dealing with this again soon. And trust me, Iran is being very quiet to see what Trump does with North Korea. If there's a blink, if this dude gets to keep his nukes, what do you think Iran's going to do, man? And our Manchurian candidate, Barack Obama, is out pulling down, did 2 speeches for 800 grand, folks. One of them to the evil Wall Street people he used to be so disgusted of. Such a hypocrite, man. I can't stand libs and their hypocrisy. The best part about hypocrites or having a double standard is they're always on the right side, right? A lot of experience with that. All right, so I got to go. Folks, if you're interested in taking a test flight with us, just go to our homepage, topgunoptions.com. If you're a skier, you recognize the symbols. If you're not, you should anyway. Beginner, intermediate, advanced. Find which 2-week test flight would be right for you, and then give it a shot. If you want to trade some weekly options, head over to advanced, and I'll see you at 1 o'clock today, okay? Have a great rest of your day. Happy hunting. Make sure you hedge, and I'll be back with tomorrow's market sit rep here at TGO.